Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There's a reason you're here right now, and it's not a coincidence. Not with everything that's been happening around you, not with the quiet questions you've been carrying, ones that have followed you even into your sleep. Something deeper wanted this moment for you. A small opening in time for you to remember something bigger. Because when life starts to press on us in just the right way, it's a push. A divine little nudge that says, "Hey, look again." And when you do, when you finally look again, what you see might just shift your entire reality. We talk so much about belief, don't we? About whether we should believe, or if it's even logical. But let's slow that down for a second and ask this. What are we actually doubting, and what are we really trusting? Because right now, as you sit here, your blood is moving. Not because you're willing it to, it's just happening. Every single cell in your body is being guided without your instruction. Your white blood cells are patrolling for invaders. Your heart knows exactly how hard to beat, without a calendar or a clock. And when you breathe in, you're not counting the oxygen molecules, you're not directing your lungs like a conductor. It's just happening, seamlessly, magically, and yes, intelligently. There is an intelligence inside you right now orchestrating the unimaginable. And here we are, thinking our biggest desires, love, peace, a breakthrough, a healing, are somehow too big for this very same intelligence to deliver. Isn't that kind of hilarious? The universe moves galaxies. It times the flowering of plants down to the temperature of a breeze. It knows when to vibrate an atom to shift a chemical reaction. And we sit here in awe of it, which is beautiful. But let me ask you something personal. Isn't it funny how we trust that cosmic choreography for everything except the one thing we're secretly hoping for? Why is it easier to believe that stars will be born billions of light years away than it is to believe that a love meant for you can find you? Why do we think our desires are exceptions to the rule of divine precision? Here's the truth. What we're asking for isn't even a blip in the blueprint of what's already been done 1,000,000,000,000 times over by this vast, aware universe. That thing you think is so impossible? It's like asking a grandmaster painter if they can sketch a stick figure. Our dream isn't too much. In fact, it might be too small compared to what's possible. And yet, I understand. Because maybe for most of your life, you've been taught to see glory outside of yourself. You've looked at others and seen their light. How beautiful, how talented, how effortless they seem. Meanwhile, you noticed every flaw in yourself like a red mark on white paper. But that wasn't self-hatred. That wasn't insecurity. That was actually your divine character peeking through. You saw glory in others because your spirit is wired to recognize the divine. You've been humble, you've been gracious, but maybe, just maybe, it's time to include yourself in that sacred gaze. It's time to realize that what you admired in others wasn't meant to exclude you. It was meant to remind you. What if you haven't seen your own majesty because you've been looking outward for far too long? Not because you're blind, but because you've been humble. But let me tell you something sacred. Seeing the majesty of creation in yourself is not being selfish. It's being realistic. There's a reason your mind didn't let go of that dream. There's a reason you feel a pull, even when it doesn't make logical sense. Because some things don't have to be logical to be true. Some things just are, like when someone says something completely ordinary, but it hits you like a lightning bolt, not because of the words, but because they said exactly what you didn't know you needed to hear at the exact moment you were about to give up. So maybe this is your reminder. Maybe this is your permission to stop waiting for validation and start recognizing the living miracle that you are. To stop calling your desires silly or selfish and start calling them what they really are. Messages, clues, breadcrumbs from the part of you that already knows. You're not late. You're not off course. You're in the middle of something sacred. And if you felt forgotten lately, let me remind you, stars don't need to be noticed to keep shining. They shine because that's what they do. Let me ask you, what if the thing you're seeking is already making its way toward you, just waiting for you to believe it belongs to you? What if the reason you haven't seen it yet is not because you're unworthy, but because you've been looking through a lens that only focuses outward? Maybe that's what belief really is. Not blind trust, but a deep remembering. A remembering that the same force that placed the stars in perfect alignment, the same intelligence that codes DNA, lives in you. And when you forget that, when you start thinking you're just one person floating aimlessly in a sea of randomness, you begin to shrink your requests. You start saying things like, maybe I don't need that much, or maybe I'll just settle here. But you weren't born to settle. You weren't born to only admire beauty in others. You were designed with your own frequency, your own genius, your own flavor of divine wonder. And I know how easy it is to believe that power belongs to someone else. The people who speak louder, the ones who seem to have it all figured out, the ones who never seem to doubt themselves. But here's a secret that very few will admit. Even those people, they're guessing too. They've just gotten better at trusting their guess. And you've been holding back not because you lack confidence, but because you were trying to be accurate. You were trying to be careful with your power. You didn't want to be arrogant. You didn't want to take up too much space. But hear this, believing in yourself is not arrogance. It's not self-centered. It's not even bold. It's aligned. Because when you see yourself as divine creation, you don't start acting better than others. You start acting like yourself. Like the you that existed before comparison. The you that could dance in your living room with no audience. The you that believed in magic just because you felt it in your bones. That version of you still exists. They've just been waiting for you to turn your gaze inward again. Not to chase perfection, but to witness the miracle that's already there. You don't need to try so hard to become something special. You already are. And the universe? It's not dangling blessings just out of reach. It's waiting for resonance. It's tuning into your signal. And the moment you stop whispering doubt and start speaking in truth, everything around you starts echoing back. So the question becomes, can you allow it? Can you allow yourself to believe that you're worthy of the very things you've been dreaming of? Not when you've fixed yourself, not when you've done more, not when you've achieved the perfect mindset, but now, right now, in this imperfect, brilliant, uncertain version of yourself. Because that's who the universe has been listening to all along. You don't need to pray harder. You don't need to beg. You just need to recognize that you already have a line in. You've always been connected. You've always been seen. You've always been held. Even in those moments when you felt forgotten, you weren't. Even when it felt like the silence was louder than any answer, it wasn't silence. It was alignment in progress. The blueprint moving pieces you couldn't yet see. And I know that's hard to hold on to sometimes, especially when you've been patient, especially when it feels like everyone else is getting their breakthrough, but you're still waiting. But let me gently remind you, there is nothing ordinary about you. You have a way of carrying hope, like it's stitched into your skin. You keep going even when you're tired. You keep loving, even when your heart is worn. And that is sacred. You've been listening to your inner compass longer than you realize. And even when you doubted it, you followed it anyway. That matters more than you know. So please, don't shrink your vision. Don't rewrite your desires to be more reasonable. You don't need to negotiate with the universe. You need to align. And alignment isn't about force, it's about truth. It's about speaking honestly, walking with trust, and opening your heart like the very air loves you, because it does. So if this message is reaching you at just the right time, maybe that's not a coincidence either. Maybe it's one more quiet confirmation that you're not off track, you're becoming visible. And I hope you can feel that. Not in your head, but somewhere deeper, somewhere quieter. Because if you've been waiting for a sign, let this be it. You don't need to keep asking whether the universe is listening. It always has been. Maybe the better question is, are you finally ready to listen back? To believe in the impossible the same way your body believes in breath? To trust the pull inside you like the tide trusts the moon? To look in the mirror, not just to correct, but to witness the divine? You are not just a participant in creation. You are a masterpiece in motion. So breathe a little deeper. Speak a little louder. Let your desires rise without apology. They were never meant to stay hidden. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.